Where are your wife and kids? Wait, you don't have any. My sister mocked me for being single. My parents laughed. Then I said, where's your money? Oh, right. I've been paying for everything, but this ends today. Then everything fell apart fast. Hey, Reddit. My family always treated me like the backup plan. I paid for everything while my sister coasted, but they acted like I was just supposed to take it. Then they crossed a line I never thought they would. Before we get there, let me start from the beginning. I'm Alex Carter, 33, single, no kids, decent job in IT. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment about 20 minutes from where I grew up. My younger sister, Riley, is 28, still lives with my parents, and has never really gotten his life together. My mom works part-time at a bakery, and my dad used to run a small handyman business, but hasn't had steady work in years. For as long as I can remember, I've been the one they all call when things go wrong. Rent for Riley? I covered it. Car repairs for mom? I sent money. Mortgage falling behind? I wired the difference before the bank deadline. I never thought much about it. I could afford it, so I did it. It was easier than watching them struggle. But all of it built up slowly, like bricks on my back. That Sunday, they were having a barbecue. Nothing fancy, just burgers, hot dogs, some neighbors wandering in and out, football game muted on the TV inside, folding chairs on the lawn, paper plates on the plastic table, the smell of charcoal in the air. I showed up with a bag of chips and a six-pack of soda. Riley was at the grill, wearing that stupid apron she thinks is funny, the one that says kiss the cook even though no one ever does. Mom was putting out potato salad. Dad was in his lawn chair with his sunglasses on, half asleep. I sat down, made small talk with a couple of neighbors, and honestly thought it would be just another lazy Sunday. Then Riley turned around from the grill, smirking like she was about to deliver a punchline she'd been sitting on all day. So Alex, she says loud enough for the whole yard to hear, when you gonna get yourself a wife and some kids? Oh wait, right, you don't have any, have. And it hit me wrong instantly. Not because it was clever, it wasn't, but because of how she said it. Like my life was some kind of joke, like I was the screw-up, like he hadn't borrowed rent money from me 3 times this year alone. Mom laughed first. Not a full laugh, more like a giggle she couldn't hold in. Dad chuckled under his breath. Riley leaned back like he'd just killed at open mic night. I looked at her, then at Mom and Dad, and something in me just shifted. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't snap. I just said, calm and clear, yeah, and where's your money, Riley? Oh, right. I've been covering for you. And for them? For years. Starting today, that's over. The yard went silent. Even the neighbor's dog stopped barking like it was listening. Riley's smirk twitched, like she didn't know if I was serious or setting up my own joke. Mom froze with the potato salad spoon in her hand. Dad pushed his sunglasses up, frowning like he wasn't sure he heard me right. I stood up, tossed my empty soda can in the trash, and said, I'll see you around. No one moved to stop me. I walked to my car with everyone staring. The only sound was the grill sputtering behind me. On the drive home, I wasn't angry exactly. More done, like a switch flipped. I kept thinking about the last 7 years. Riley between jobs and me covering her rent so she wouldn't get kicked out. Mom's car transmission dying, me paying the shop directly so she could get to work. Dad falling behind on the mortgage just this month, over and over. All of it always felt temporary. Like they just needed a little help until things evened out. Except they never did. I got home, dropped my keys on the counter, and opened my laptop. I started scrolling back through old bank transfers, Venmo payments, even a few credit card bills I'd paid off for them. And the whole time, I kept hearing Riley's voice. Oh, wait. Right, you don't have any. Like the only thing worth measuring in my life was whether I had a wife and kids yet. I closed the laptop, sat there for a while, and decided something right then. I wasn't sending another dollar. Not for rent, not for car repairs, not for anything. I didn't call or text after the barbecue. Monday, Mom pinged, Riley was only joking. You know how she is. Tuesday, another. Your father says we should all talk Sunday. I left both on read. Work kept me busy enough to avoid thinking about it too much. I fixed software issues for a logistics company, mostly from my apartment. Monday bled into Tuesday. Tickets, emails, coffee, repeat. By Wednesday, I started getting a weird feeling. An envelope from a bank I don't use landed in my mailbox. Inside was a welcome to your home equity line of credit letter. I figured it was junk, but halfway through I realized it wasn't advertising. It was thanking me for opening an account. It even listed my parents' address under property secured by this loan. The only way that happens is if someone had my SSN and basics. My parents have both from years of taxes and insurance forms I helped with. I set it aside, figuring I'd call later. That night, while scrolling through my phone, I saw a notification from the credit monitoring app I barely check. New account opened in my name. That's when the first red flag really went up. I opened the app and sure enough, there was a home equity line listed under my name, attached to my parents' address. A big one. I just sat there for a minute, reading it twice to make sure I wasn't mixing something up. The next morning, I drove by my parents' place on the way back from the grocery store. I told myself it was just to drop off some folding chairs I borrowed a while ago, but really, I wanted to see what was going on. Mom was inside at the kitchen table, shuffling through mail. Dad was out back fiddling with the lawnmower. Riley was leaning against a shiny used car I'd never seen before, talking on speakerphone about some new job lead. Nobody mentioned the barbecue or the text when I walked up. Mom offered me leftover pie, like everything was normal. Got some mail at my place from a bank, I said casually, watching Riley. Said something about a loan. Dad didn't even look up from the lawnmower. They send junk like that all the time. Yeah, I said. This one had my name on it. Mom smiled too quickly. Banks make mistakes, Alex. Don't stress. Riley grinned at her phone like she wasn't even listening. I nodded slowly, carried the chairs inside, and left. Back at my apartment, I dug the letter out of the trash where I'd tossed it. Read it again carefully this time. It wasn't vague. It thanked me for choosing them. Listed a credit line amount, payment schedule, and account number. I checked the credit app once more. It was real. I started pulling my own records, bank statements, Venmo history, old email receipts. Not for the new loan yet, just everything I'd paid for over the years. I made a folder on my computer called Family Stuff, subfolders by year, screenshots, PDFs, photos of checks I found in my email archives. It was a lot of money, way more than I realized when I scribbled numbers on paper after the barbecue. While sorting, I kept thinking about that moment in the yard. Them laughing, Riley smirking. It wasn't the joke. It was how quick they were to laugh at me after years of needing my help for everything. By Friday, I was checking my credit report 3 times a day. The account sat there like a flashing sign. I called the number on the letter, asked to confirm the account details. The woman on the phone said she couldn't give me much without verifying more information, but I was listed as a co-signer. My chest tightened. I asked when the account was opened. She gave me a date, 2 weeks ago. So the line I thought they'd cross later had already been crossed 2 weeks before the barbecue. I asked if the primary borrower was Dad. She said she couldn't disclose that. That told me enough. She suggested visiting the branch in person with ID if I thought there was an error. I didn't tell her I hadn't signed anything. Not yet. That night, Mom texted again. Family dinner Sunday. Please come. Riley sent nothing. Dad didn't call. I sat at my kitchen table staring at my laptop, credit report on one side, bank letter on the other. 7 years of helping them, covering bills, paying for repairs, keeping them afloat. And now a loan in my name I didn't sign for. I moved every document I had into a single folder and backed it up to the cloud. If this was going where I thought it might be going, I wanted proof. I just decided I was walking into the branch Monday morning to see the paperwork with my own eyes. Eerie's. The Monday morning, I went to the branch on the letter. The clerk checked my driver's license, then walked me to a side desk. After verifying my ID and 2 security questions, the banker pulled up my profile. He typed for a while, glanced at the screen, then at me. You're listed as a co-signer on a home equity line tied to this address, he said, reading my parents' address. I told him I hadn't signed anything and needed to see the paperwork. He rotated the monitor and opened a scanned note. My name, my info, and a shaky version of my signature at the bottom. I asked for a copy. He said he could print it, but to dispute it, I'd have to file a fraud claim with the bank's loan department. He gave me the contact info and a packet of forms to fill out. On my way back to the car, my phone buzzed. Mom, I ignored it. She called again. Then again. I finally picked up on the 4th call. Alex, she said, voice tight. The bank just called your father. Why were you down there asking questions? Because there's a loan in my name I didn't sign for, I said. We didn't have a choice, she snapped. The mortgage was behind. The bank was threatening letters. It was just paperwork, Alex. You're making it bigger than it is. It's fraud, I said. Silence for a second. Then she said, we're family. Family helps each other. You act like we stole from a stranger. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. They called him because he and my mom were the primary borrowers. Looping primaries is standard once an account is flagged. That evening, I drove to their house. I wasn't planning to argue. I wanted to hear them say it to my face. Mom was at the kitchen table sorting bills. Dad was in his chair with the news on low volume. Riley was sprawled on the couch scrolling through his phone, like always. I dropped the packet of bank paperwork on the table. Whose idea was this? Dad barely looked at it. We signed because we needed it, he said. House comes first. You signed my name, I said. Riley snorted without looking up from her phone. It's not like you can't afford it, Alex. Relax. I stared at her. It's fraud, Riley. They used my name, my credit. If payments stop, they come after me. Riley shrugged. You're acting like we robbed a bank or something. It's just a loan. Mom finally looked up from the bills. It bought us time. That's all we needed. We were going to tell you. When? I asked. After the payments were late? After it hit my credit? She sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. We didn't want to stress you out. You always overreact. Overreact. It was the same rotation I'd heard for years. Crisis, minimize, guilt, repeat. Dad muted the TV and leaned back. You make good money. It's not like this ruins you. You're acting like we did this out of spite. You forged my name, I repeated slowly, so they couldn't pretend they didn't understand. Mom threw her hands up. We're trying to save the house, Alex. You want us homeless? You want Riley on the street? Riley didn't even look up at that part. I looked straight at her. You live here rent-free, don't you? She grinned. Not my fault you like playing hero. That did it. I gathered the paperwork back into the folder. I'm filing the fraud claim tomorrow. You've got 30 days to refinance this into your own names or deal with the bank yourselves. Mom slammed her hand on the table. After everything we've done for you, Alex. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. Everything you've done for me? Mom, I've paid for this place more times than I can count. I've covered Riley's rent, your car repairs, Dad's bills. I have receipts for all of it. Don't start rewriting history now. Dad's voice went low. You talk to your mother like that again, and you can forget coming back here. Fine, I said. I'm done paying for everything anyway. I walked out while Mom muttered about ungrateful kids, like I hadn't been bailing them out for years. I drove straight home, sat at my desk, and started filling out the fraud paperwork. I listed dates, the account number, attached the scan with the fake signature. I included my own ID for comparison. When I hit submit, I felt the first sliver of relief I'd felt in a long time. They wanted to treat me like an ATM? Fine. The machine was closed. By Tuesday morning, I had the fraud paperwork filed with the bank and a folder on my laptop with every screenshot, bank transfer, Venmo payment, and email receipt from the last 7 years. It wasn't just about the forged loan anymore. I wanted a record of all the times I bailed them out because I was done letting them act like I'd imagined it. A friend from work gave me the number of a lawyer named Monica. She specialized in financial disputes, fraud cases, and property messes. I called her office, explained the situation, and had an appointment the next afternoon. Monica's office was in a converted house near downtown. No fancy skyscraper, no marble lobby, just a small waiting room with 2 chairs and a coffee pot. When she called me in, she shook my hand firmly and got right to the point. Tell me everything, she said, opening a yellow legal pad. I explained the barbecue, the joke, the years of paying for my parents and Riley, the forged loan, the phone call where my mom acted like I was overreacting. I showed her the folder with all the payments I'd made over the years. She flipped through a few pages, then set them down. Here's what we're going to do. First, we send a formal demand letter to your parents. It will require them to refinance the loan into their names only and remove any account connected to you. We'll give them 30 days. If they don't comply, we move forward legally. Legally as in court? I asked. Court. And a police report if necessary, she said. Forgery and fraud are criminal charges. I want to give them a chance to fix this quietly first. We'd start with the bank and a formal demand. If they stonewalled or stalled, we'd file the police report. I nodded. That sounded fair. Second, she continued, lock your credit, change your passwords, and add 2-factor authentication to everything. If they did this once, they might try again. I'd already locked my credit, but the rest went on my to-do list. Third, she said, tapping the stack of payments I'd given her. This shows a clear pattern. You've been financially supporting them for years. If this goes to court, it proves they were exploiting you, not the other way around. That word, exploiting, sat heavy, but I couldn't argue with it. Monica said she'd draft the letter by Friday. It would be clear, professional, and give them exactly 30 days to comply before things escalated. When I left her office, I felt more in control than I had in weeks. That night, I went through my accounts. New passwords on everything. Separate savings account at a different bank entirely. Credit monitoring alert set to instant notifications. For the first time in years, I wasn't just reacting to my family's chaos. I was getting ahead of it. At work, things shifted too. A coworker named Matt always tried to dump his unfinished projects on me. Because you're faster at this stuff. I used to say yes because it was easier than arguing. That week, I told him no. Politely, but firmly. He looked surprised but didn't push it. My manager noticed the change. "You've been sharper lately," he said during our team meeting. "Keep it up. There's a promotion review next month." Funny timing. Their deadline lands right before my promotion review. Monica emailed me the draft letter Friday morning. It was 3 pages long. It listed the loan account number, the date it was opened, and stated clearly that I had not signed or authorized it. It demanded that Dad and Mom refinance the loan into their names only within 30 days, remove me from all related accounts, and agree in writing never to use my information again. Failure to comply, it said, would result in legal action, including a police report for forgery and a civil suit for damages. Reading it felt strange, cold, final, but also necessary. Monica sent it by certified mail that afternoon. Saturday, I drove past my parents' house on the way to the store. Riley's new car was in the driveway. Mom was watering the front yard like nothing was wrong. I didn't stop. That evening, she called. I let it go to voicemail. "Alex," she said, voice tight, "we got some letter from a lawyer? What is this? You're threatening your own family. Over money?" I didn't call back. Sunday night, Riley texted me for the first time since the barbecue. "Alex, what's your problem? Mom's freaking out. Dad says you're blowing this way out of proportion. Just chill out, pay the loan, and move on." I stared at the text for a long time before replying. "Talk to Monica. You have 30 days. No response after that." On Monday, the bank's fraud department called. The woman on the line said they'd opened an official investigation into the loan. They were forwarding the documents to a handwriting expert to compare signatures. "If it's confirmed as forged," she said, "we'll remove you from all liability." Good. One step closer. Meanwhile, the calls from my parents kept coming. Some angry, some tearful, some pretending nothing was wrong. I stopped listening to most of them. Because for the first time, it wasn't my problem to solve. By the end of the first week after Monica's letter went out, the calls from my parents changed tone. At first, they were angry. Dad left a voicemail saying I was turning my back on family and acting like some stranger off the street. 2 days later, Mom called crying, saying the bank had left messages about the account and I was making things harder than they needed to be. Riley texted me twice in the same day. "Just pay it, Alex. You're the one with the good job. We're drowning here and you're being selfish." I didn't respond to any of it. Friday morning, the bank called again. The handwriting analysis had begun, and because liability was in dispute, they said they'd fast-track it. They needed samples of my real signature. I drove to the branch at lunch, signed a stack, and watched the manager send them off. "Once the report comes back," he said, "if the signature doesn't match, you're officially cleared. The loan goes back on the primary borrowers, Mom and Dad." Good. Saturday, things escalated fast. At 6:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. A neighbor from my parents' street sent me a video of a tow truck in front of their house. Riley's car was getting hooked up and hauled away. Apparently, she hadn't made a single payment on it since buying it last month. By noon, Riley was blowing up my phone. "You see what happened? They took my car. Are you happy now? You've got savings. I'm family. What's wrong with you?" I didn't reply. Sunday afternoon, I went for a run around the park near my apartment. When I got back, there were 5 missed calls from Mom and 1 voicemail from Dad. Your mother's in tears. The bank keeps calling about the loan. Riley's car is gone, and you're just sitting there doing nothing? After everything we've done for you? That line again. Everything we've done for you. I saved the voicemail in the folder with all the others. Monica told me to keep everything. Texts, calls, emails. Monday, the bank's fraud department emailed me directly. The investigation was moving quickly. The forged documents were under review by their legal team. They said the report would take about 2 weeks. Faster than usual because they'd expedited it once fraud was alleged. I forwarded the email to Monica. She replied within an hour. Good. Once they clear you, we push your parents to refinance or face legal consequences. No backing down. Meanwhile, I kept working on my own life. I opened a new savings account at a separate bank, moved half my money there, and set up automatic transfers. Monica said it was smart to keep things separated in case my parents ever tried to access my accounts again. I changed my phone PIN, added 2-factor authentication to everything, even set up alerts on my credit report for any new activity. If they tried anything else, I'd know right away. At work, things kept improving. I finished a big project ahead of schedule. My manager asked if I'd be ready to present it to the leadership team next week. Absolutely, I said. Funny how much clearer your head gets when you're not constantly putting out fires for other people. By the second week, the messages from my parents turned desperate. Mom texted, "The bank says we're behind again. We can't catch up without your help." Dad left another voicemail. "If you keep pushing this, Alex, you're going to ruin us. Do you want that on your conscience?" I ignored all of it. Thursday evening, Monica called. "I got a copy of the loan file from the bank," she said. "The signature isn't even close. Any investigator will see it's forged. Once the report is finalized, you're officially out." I asked how long that would take. 2 more weeks, maybe less, she said. "In the meantime, don't respond to them directly. If they contact you about money, forward it to me." Friday morning, Riley showed up at my apartment. First time in years he'd come over. "Look," she said the moment I opened the door, "Mom's freaking out. Dad's yelling at everybody. Just call the bank and tell them you'll take care of it. They'll stop calling." "No," I said. He blinked like he didn't understand the word. "Why not? You always fix stuff." "Not anymore," I said. 30 days. They can refinance or deal with the bank themselves." She scoffed. "You think you're better than us because you've got some money now?" "No," I said. "Because I work for it." "You don't." She muttered something under his breath on the way out. 2 weeks after Monica sent the letter, the bank called. The handwriting analysis was complete. "Mr. Carter," the fraud investigator said, "the signature on the loan documents does not match your verified samples. We're officially removing you from any liability on this account. All responsibility reverts to the primary borrowers." "Meaning my parents," I said. "Correct. They'll be notified today." I hung up, forwarded the email confirmation to Monica, and sat back for a second. It was done. The loan wasn't mine anymore. By that afternoon, the calls started. Mom first. "You got the bank involved?" she snapped the second I answered. "They told us it's on us now. What do you expect us to do?" "Refinance," I said. "Or sell the house. It's your loan." "You'd let your family lose their home?" she yelled. I didn't answer that. She hung up on me. An hour later, Dad left a voicemail, his voice tight and angry. "The bank says we're on our own now. You've embarrassed this family, Alex. Dragging outsiders into our business. We could lose everything because of you." I saved the voicemail like all the others. 3 days later, I drove by their house on the way home from work. A real estate sign was in the front yard. Big red letters, "For sale?" They hadn't called to tell me. The next evening, Mom left a message. "We're listing the house. I hope you're happy. After everything we did for you, this is how you treat us." I didn't call back. Friday, Monica called. "The sale's moving fast," she said. "I checked the county records. They priced it low to pay off the loan quickly. Once it closes, they'll have to leave. Do not offer them money. Do not co-sign anything. Stay out of it." "No problem there," I said. 2 days later, Mom called again. This time, she was crying. "They accepted an offer," she said between sobs. "The closing is in 3 weeks. We don't know where we're going yet." "You'll figure it out," I said. "You're just going to watch us lose the house you grew up in?" "You made that decision when you forged my name," I said. She went quiet, then hung up without another word. That weekend, I drove by again. Boxes were stacked in the garage. Furniture gone from the front room. The for sale sign now had a red banner across it. Under contract. They were really leaving. Tuesday evening, Dad called. "Your mother's upset," he said. His voice was sharp, controlled. "She thinks you've turned your back on this family." "I set boundaries," I said. "You humiliated us," he snapped. "The neighbors are talking. The bank called us about that fraud investigation like we're criminals." "Because you forged my name," I said calmly. He exhaled hard through the phone. "We had no choice." "You always had a choice," I said. "You just never wanted the consequences." He hung up without another word. By the end of the week, Monica called. "Once the sale closes," she said, "their loan will be paid off, but they'll have nothing left. No house, no equity. They'll be renting like everyone else. And you're out of it completely." "Good," I said. "You should be prepared," she added. "They'll probably blame you for all of it. People like this usually do." "They already are," I said. 2 days before closing, Mom left another voicemail. "Dinner Sunday," she said. "One last time before the house is gone. Please come." I sat there listening to it twice. Part of me didn't want to go, but another part wanted to see this through to the end. The night before the dinner, Riley texted again. "You better not come in acting smug. Nobody wants to hear a lecture from you." I didn't reply. Sunday came. The house was half empty when I walked in. Boxes lined the hall. The living room echoey without furniture. Mom looked tired. Dad was at the table with paperwork stacked in front of him. Riley leaned against the counter with her arms crossed. "This is what you wanted, right?" Riley said as soon as I walked in. "House gone. Family screwed. Congratulations." "This is what you chose," I said calmly. The house looked smaller with half the furniture gone. Boxes were stacked along the hallway, labeled in black marker. The living room echoed when I walked through. Mom was at the table, eyes red, folding dish towels into a box. Dad sat across from her with the stack of closing papers, jaw tight. Riley leaned against the counter, watching me like he was waiting for a fight. "This is what you wanted, right?" Riley said. "House gone. Mom upset. Dad pissed. Congrats, man." "This is what you chose," I said. Riley snorted. "We didn't choose any of this. You backed us into a corner." I looked straight at her. "You forged my name on a loan. You had plenty of choices before that." Mom spoke up finally. "We did it to save the house. You wouldn't help us. What were we supposed to do?" "Ask," I said. "Not steal." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "You call your own parents thieves?" "You forged my signature," I said evenly. "That's exactly what it is." For a moment, no one spoke. Riley broke the silence. "You've always thought you were better than everyone because you make a little money." I shook my head. "No, Riley. I just don't expect other people to fix my mess every time I screw up." Mom looked down at the table. "We're losing the house, Alex. The place you grew up in. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "It did," I said, "until you put me on the line for it without asking." Dad leaned forward. "We're your family. Families stick together. Sticking together isn't the same as being used," I said. Mom's eyes filled with tears. "So that's it? You're done with us?" "I'm done paying for everything," I said. "If you want a relationship, it has to be normal. No loans. No emergencies dumped on me. Equal terms or nothing." Riley muttered under her breath, "Selfish." I looked straight at her. "I paid your rent 3 times, Riley. Bought Mom a transmission. Covered Dad's mortgage more times than I can count. All while you lived here free, acting like it was my job to clean up every mess." She didn't say anything after that. The closing papers sat in front of Dad. "We sign tomorrow," he said finally. "House is gone. We'll rent some apartment until we figure things out." "That's what adults do," I said. "Live within what they can afford." Mom shot me a look. "Easy for you to say? You've never had to start over at our age." "Because I don't gamble with what I can't pay for," I said. Her mouth opened, then shut again. We ate in silence after that. Card table in the middle of the empty room. Paper plates because the real ones were packed. No one talked much. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Halfway through, Mom said softly, "So this is it? You walk away and leave us like this?" "I'm walking away from being the safety net," I said. "Not from being your son, but I'm not carrying this family anymore. That ends tonight." Riley shoved her plate back. "You act like you're some victim. Nobody asked you to help all those times." I laughed once, sharp. "You begged, Riley. I've got the texts." She glared at me but didn't deny it. When dinner ended, Mom stood by the counter, arms crossed. "You know we might not recover from this," she said quietly. "You will," I said, "because you'll have to." Dad gathered the closing papers into a folder. Riley kicked at an empty box by the door. I looked around the house one last time. The wall where we marked our heights as kids was painted over. The old couch where I used to crash after late shifts was gone. The house didn't feel like home anymore, just a place with memories stacked in boxes. "This is the last time I'm coming here," I said finally. "If you want to be part of my life after this, it has to be different. No more money calls. No more emergencies dumped on me. Equal terms or nothing." Mom didn't say anything. Dad kept shuffling papers. Riley stared at the floor. I picked up my keys and headed for the door. Outside, the air was cold. My car was parked where it always had been, under the same streetlight I'd parked under 1,000 times growing up. I got in, started it, and looked at the house one last time in the mirror. Riley came out onto the porch like she was going to say something, but she didn't. She just watched as I drove away. 2 days later, Monica called. "The sale closed," she said. "Loans paid off. You're officially clear. Their problem now." I thanked her, hung up, and sat back in my chair. The house was gone. The loan was gone. The weight I'd carried for years was gone with it. That weekend, I put the binder with all the receipts, texts, and voicemails into the back of my closet. Not as a weapon, just as proof of what happened. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. No emergency calls, no guilt trips, no demands for money, just quiet. I realized I liked the quiet. I cleaned my apartment, did my laundry, bought groceries, normal stuff. For once, my life felt like mine again. When I sat down that night, I caught myself smiling without even thinking about it. Because for the first time in years, the mess wasn't mine to clean up. Funny timing, my review's next week. I finally have the bandwidth to show up for it.